What's going on, guys? Welcome back to JT's Mixtape. This is episode number 61. And if you guys are enjoying these podcasts, please give me a 5-star review on either Apple or Spotify. And if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you.
Come closer, my child.
What's going on, y'all? This podcast is brought to you by Modern Roots Life. Modern Roots Life is a Christian-owned and operated company, and it's bringing real health back to its roots. They offer powerful, all-natural health supplements such as beef liver, cod liver oil, beef tallow, magnesium, and mineral-rich salts, all sourced the way God intended. Clean, simple, and from the earth. So whether you're looking to boost your energy, restore mineral balance, or just fuel your family with real nourishment, Modern Roots Life has got you covered. Guys, in this community, we're trying to get healthy in our mind, in our body, and our spirit. So don't neglect your health. If you want more information, check out modernrootslife.com and check the link in my description. You know, people often ask me how they can support me. Well, I think it's pretty cool if you can support me by supporting the people who support me, and you get something in return. And being healthy is a pretty good return. Well, guys, we're back. Once again, I'm your host, JT, and I've got Aaron, Tune Thy Heart with us. What's going on, Aaron?
What's up, y'all?
And of course, Brian, the Demon Eraser. What's going on, Brian?
Nothing much.
Well, we're recording this on the last day on the calendar year. Of course, I often point out that this is really not the end of the year. This is kind of more like the beginning of the end, kind of, because I believe that really the proper way to probably celebrate the new year would probably be the beginning of spring, which everybody used to do back in the day. But anyways, for all intents and purposes, we're going to just call this is the end of the year, and we're going to have maybe some best of videos, some of our favorite videos from the year, but we're also going to talk about some new stuff. But before we get into that, I'll start with Aaron. Aaron, 2025. You can give us a personal testimony about it, or you can give us just a broad overview of the things that you've seen this year. Well, like, what is your takeaway from the year 2025 AD, or at least we're told that's the year?
I mean, everything just kind of feels like a blur since 2020, honestly. Like, each year just keeps going by. There's more hot mess scenarios that cause confusion and panic and chaos. And I don't know, I almost feel like everyone's been waiting for the other boot to drop since 2020. And I feel like 2025 was just another year where everyone was waiting for the boot to drop. But I would say the highlight from this year that was different from every other year is things did seem to change. The climate of the world did seem to change significantly in September when Charlie Kirk got killed.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that was like the turning point, if you will.
Okay, there you go.
So stupid.
That's a bit on the nose, but yeah, okay,
So
I gotcha.
But no, I would say that was probably the most significant event of the year. But I know that we've seen in our community a whole lot of people start taking their walks with Jesus a lot more seriously this year. And I would say even more specifically since that event. And so,
yeah, amen.
So I'm thankful for that. Yeah, that's my takeaway.
So there's some good news. I'm glad it's not all black pills here.
Yeah.
Brian, what's your takeaway from 2025?
You know, that's I don't have an answer for that, but I will tell you that I think it's interesting how society has been catching on, and I think it's so fascinating. It's like I feel, you know what I feel? I feel almost like hopeful in a sense, I guess, as opposed to before it was like overwhelmingly just like, dude, how do we fight this? I kind of feel like we have hope, like we can fight this, like this is something that we can overcome. Just seeing the rate at which things progressively catch on, like, you know, like there was like it was like, you know, Titanic, no one caught on. That happened forever. Then the next big thing, you know, we got like, you know, JFK, and no one caught on for a very long time. But
Or
a
they
shorter
did,
time,
or they did, but maybe the general public was not being, their message was not being amplified like it is.
right? And then we got like 9/11, and then it was like even a shorter catch on. It was like it took only like maybe like 5 years till people started noticing, or 10 years. And then it was like all the way down to today. It's like this Somali thing happened, and instantly people caught on. I mean, like Charlie Kirk, it took us what the whole population caught on within a few. I think the majority of people caught on within probably like 6 months. And the Somali thing, it's just like everyone's seeing it within like a few days. They're realizing, okay, so like everyone's waking up, everyone's realizing the rate at which they're waking up is like so fast now. It's hilarious, actually. It's awesome. It's so cool to be like, because at this point, it's accumulating to where the next thing we see that's fake, it's almost like everyone's going to be on our team and be like, this is a problem.
Well, you can say that. I would say that there's different factions of that, because I think that so many people now believe everything's fake. And of course, I know that a lot of people are already probably shouting at Aaron, oh, dude, you still believe that that's real? Regardless if you think that's real, I would say that what my big takeaway was not necessarily September. It was obviously all this whole year, is that the great noticing is happening about lots of things, including like our relationship with Israel, our government's totally in bed with them. It seems like that they are the tail that's wagging the dog that's the United States and maybe the rest of the Western world. And I think that has really been kind of the big story for me, because obviously then that culminates with whatever you believe happened with Charlie Kirk in September. All that is even taken, what, like Tucker said, go max. This stuff has gone max. And so the difficult part, as we have tried to remain, who we are in Christ and talk about all these issues, I've often said that I like to wear like the conspiracy theorist on my sleeve. I remember hearing my wife say, don't call yourself that. And I said, but it is true. Like, I do like conspiracies, like talking about this stuff. But the more that people do notice, or they get real cynical about everything and everything is fake. I agree. Lots of things are fake. And of course, we'll play some videos from this year that I believe were absolutely fake. But I think that I have really tried to maybe ground myself into the identity of a truther. And I know that's still kind of depending on who you ask, like what that actually means. But we care what's true. And a lot of times it is not what we're being told. So ultimately, like, our truth is Jesus Christ. But there's a lot of conspiracies and there's a lot of mess. And I think that it almost feels like that with more knowledge being increased about these things, the enemy's not an idiot, so he's flooding the system with everything. So then it's like, so what do you actually believe? And that's the more difficult part from like our perspective, to remain true to what we actually believe, and whether it's popular or not, say this is what I believe happened, and this is where we go from here. But no,
Definitely
it's been
not
really
popular.
no. Well, no, it's not. Then obviously that's why, of course, that's why I got my Jesus said there'll be haters shirt. Ultimately it's about him. So you'll be hated for him. But obviously just by saying things that are true, that are unpopular, gets people, raises their ire. And then they're coming after you and calling people in this community, like the community's turning on itself and saying, oh, you're controlled opposition. No, you are. You're a Fed. You're this, you're that. And I think that that's the more difficult part, because I think that what I've learned this year maybe is a little bit more maturity, more humbleness about like how we view everything, and how we don't necessarily accuse people first. Like, you know what I mean? Kind of like you see the fruits of these people, and then maybe identify the reasons why we have skepticism about it. But we don't immediately start to question people, because, as I've seen it here personally, you can agree with somebody 99% of the time, and the one time you disagree with them, now all of a sudden you're one of them. Yeah, you're a Fed. So, there are a lot of Feds, and I do believe that's a real thing. Obviously, we talk about like Nick Fuentes and how his movement has grown massively. He went from being banned to being totally mainstream this year. And that's a massive shift, because I think a lot of people are saying that, well, he's saying a lot of true things, but obviously you see all his message in totality. There's a lot of mess in the things he says. And I think that's the more difficult part. Because like I said, you see the clips and you're like, he's spot on. He's right about this. But a lot of things he's saying he's right about things that lots of people have known. But now it's fit more for public consumption. his opinions that don't seem so out there.
And I want to be clear, like I'm still not entirely sure what to think about the whole Charlie Kirk thing. There's still so many missing pieces, but regardless of what actually happened and what didn't, for all intents and purposes, in the public eye, someone was assassinated. Like whether it was real or not, the shock value, the impact, I know the way it made me feel, and I know the way it made a ton of other people around me feel. And I personally have seen in my own life, like family and friends start taking their walk with Jesus infinitely more serious. People that never had one before, like it was a wake up call for people to, it shook people for whatever reason. It shook people. And to Brian's point, it's yeah, it was one of those things where it's forced everyone to question everything. And people are doing that in droves more than they ever have. And they're not trusting things. And so yeah, it was a shaking. It was definitely a shaking. But I agree with everything you guys both said. All of that this year.
Guys, check this out. Bible sales have increased this year by what was it? I think it was like 25% or something.
Wow, that's huge. I mean, that's got to
years.
be a lot of. I mean, because I'm
Right?
sure there's a lot of Bibles sold every year anyway. So, yeah, I mean,
version?
we've seen
And
that,
then,
and of course,
look, alcohol consumption has reached a 90-year low than it ever has in all previous years. 90
That's
years.
amazing.
that is. I
Alcohol
mean,
consumption has hit
well,
90
I mean,
years
obviously
low.
there might be some correlation there
hilarious.
that people are reading their Bibles and they're not boozing
Yeah.
as much. So yeah, that's a great thing. Yeah, and
I
of course
think
we've
it's
seen it in this
awesome. Like,
we've seen it in
good
this
job, team.
It's
community
amazing.
talking about the little season, where that certainly seems like, we've been doing this for 2 years now, talking about this, a little over 2 years. And so this past year, man, the amount of people that I would not expect to hear about the little season and say, that makes sense. So that leads people who never really went to a brick and mortar church to say, this makes sense. This is all central to the man Christ, and this makes sense. And so if this is true, yeah, that encourages people to probably dig deeper into their Bibles and read actually what's something, a book that you can rely on when we've been lied about so many different things. So yeah, I see a great awakening when it comes to that. And I think that also, again, our relationship with Israel, and I found that we have a very important voice now, because when we can actually explain the old covenant versus the new covenant, because like this is literally a geopolitical thing now, because people are saying, well, the Bible says this. Politicians like Ted Cruz say, well, this is what the Bible says. So therefore, public policy needs to be dictated on what the Bible says. And then people like the three of us can say, that's actually not what the Bible says. So then you hear like the people who don't know, now they're saying, the gospel in the New Testament, the new covenant actually makes a lot of sense. And it makes a lot of sense. And it's very applicable because of all the, like every facet of your life, where this wrong doctrine can lead to wrong policy, which leads to real world, just deadly consequences to people that are across the world. But then obviously then it focuses on here of like what we can say and what we can't say, and kind of our unalienable rights that God gave us when he created us. Now, understanding that is fundamental to navigating this mess of a world.
Yeah, the Bible sales have increased. It says 20 to 22% in 2024. Some stats say 14 to 22%, and some say 36% surge in Bible sales in September. So something in September happened that made people go to church. Let me just say.
Well, right. And I think that's the thing, like what Aaron was saying, regardless. And I think that's what we said immediately, whether, again, you guys think that we were, shills or just massively deceived for believing that Charlie Kirk was actually killed. I said, for all intents and purposes, he's gone. He's not coming back. Now, I could be wrong about that. Maybe it appears as, it comes back as a different character, and some people can be proved to be right. But for all intents and purposes, I believe that you'll never see him again. So people believe he's dead. And I believe that Romans 8:28 says that God can use all things together for our good who love him and are called to his purpose. So you can see a bad thing like that, and God can use it to change people's lives. And so even if it was a deception, it got somebody to buy a Bible, to try to seek God, well, then praise God, because it still worked out for our good. So I think that's the good part. And I want to go to something you said, and we'll shift to a video real quick. I want to talk about how, Brian, you mentioned the issue in Minnesota right now with the Somali daycare and healthcare practitioners that they might just be scamming our government.
Center
And,
ones?
and the Learing centers, and also our governments might be involved.
The days of YouTubers not being considered real journalists are long gone, because what's just happened today in the Minnesota fraud scandal is wild. So earlier this month, as reported by the Associated Press, federal prosecutors said that half of the $18 billion in federal funds that was given to 14 different Minnesota-run programs, we're talking disability care, addiction treatment centers, food for the underprivileged, childcare, etc. They believe that half of that may have been stolen. They said,
the magnitude of the fraud in Minnesota cannot be overstated. Staggering amounts of money that have been lost.
but for the American taxpayers, those were just words. That is until a 23-year-old YouTuber, Nick Shirley, posted a video that for millions of people suddenly made it feel real. Nick went to multiple daycare centers in the region, which he claimed had taken millions in state funding to look after hundreds of children. But when he entered, they were deserted. No children were found. Now, not only did this post go instantly viral, it got 116 million views on X and 1.9 million views on YouTube, but it was also seen and shared by huge political figures on the right, including Elon Musk and Vice President J.D. Vance. Even the U.S. Attorney General acknowledged Nick's video on X, saying that 98 individuals, 85 of which are Somali, have been charged in this fraud investigation. But today, it's gone even further, because the DHS is now on the ground in Minneapolis, going door to door at suspected fraud sites, even telling CNN that this was triggered in part because of Nick's video.
Dude, that's awesome.
It is. Of course, it's funny how like even the Somali memes about how, the one from Captain Phillips, I'm the captain now.
Yeah.
Nick Shirley and us were saying, we're the media now. And I think that's the kind of the more I'm going to get cynical here. So he mentions that Pam Bondi was saying that 98 or something like that were being prosecuted. Well, a lot of these were already under the Biden administration. I want to say like 75 of them. So it seems like now Nick Shirley has exposed this problem to everybody, but it's unbelievable that now it's like J.D. Vance, Ted Cruz, Kash Patel. Lots of these people are saying, oh, where's 60 Minutes? Why aren't they breaking the story? And it's like, what about you? What about the FBI? Like, why aren't you guys kicking in doors and arresting people before a 23-year-old YouTuber named Nick Shirley went out and exposed it? It's more like you guys look like morons now. You guys look corrupt. And now you're forced to actually address the problem because everybody on X was talking about this story. Yeah, and kudos to Nick Shirley, because what he did was just very basic. And I forgot, and excuse me, because I don't know the gentleman's name, because I think there was a guy, boots on the ground guy in Minnesota that he was going with, who actually was leading Nick to all these places where they went into they went into like a healthcare facility, or they went into a building that supposedly had 14 different healthcare facilities in there for health insurance. And he was trying to go in there just to get rates. And they wouldn't even let him in the door. He couldn't get a rate. I think he said they might have got his information taken by one of them. But all the rest of them were not letting him in. And eventually the cops were called, and they were saying they could charge him with trespassing because he wasn't welcome there. But I mean, yeah, like, so this guy is exposing things that you could never convince me that the people did not know what was going on. So then he goes to a daycare center that literally it's called the Learing Center because they forgot to put the N in learning. So it's literally spelled Learing Center. And of course, I want to say that they said that there was like about 100 children that were supposedly getting leering there, but there was nobody there. It was like the middle of the day. They show up and there's nobody there. The doors are locked. No cars in the parking lot.
So apparently someone looked and he showed up at 1 o'clock and the facility didn't open till 2. And people are now saying that Nick Shirley is, well, can they see the phone in the next video? They're now saying Nick Shirley is a scammer and a fraud. And there's videos going around trying to call Nick Shirley out, which is totally absurd and insane. Because you're like, oh, because he showed up an hour before the dude. Look at all the other buildings he went to, guys. Like, shut up. This is what I want to just say. Like, dude,
yeah.
Like,
well, I mean,
he showed up early.
So a lot of the
It
clips
says
are going
Learing
around.
Center on there.
Yeah, there's a lot of clips going around from their bites from this 42-minute video he had exposing tons of things. And of course, this is just Minnesota. And obviously we know that there's a big immigration problem with all the Somalis there. But you know that this is systemic. This is in every city. This is in every major city, I believe stuff like this is happening.
Some
So I
guy
think
went
that's
around
the
in
that's the
another
place where
town
you
and
kind
did it.
yeah, that's the place where you can kind of tell that these people who are, politicians are acting like they're doing something now. Expose something we didn't know, right? Like now you're trying to ride this 23-year-old YouTuber's coattails and act like you guys are going to do something now, but like you needed to be doing this. Wasn't this something that was supposedly going to be promised? I mean, it's interesting that Elon Musk, he's been all over this. And of course, when he first got it, when Trump first took office, they had Doge, right? And so Doge was Elon Musk's department for all these autists that he had working for him. They were exposing all the fraud in the government. And then Trump and Elon had this falling out. And so what's come of that? Has anyone been arrested for all that other fraud that they were uncovering in the budget? Right? So this is now, he's exposing it. And now every other politician is saying, why isn't the mainstream media doing this? It's like, why aren't you guys prosecuting criminals that are literally stealing our tax dollars when lots of people can barely afford groceries now? And then you have these people who aren't even citizens getting hundreds of millions of dollars from the government and scamming them.
It's because they're in on it. How else do you think they found out about it? You don't just come over here from another country and learn about these backdoor schemes to steal billions of dollars from the government. Like they're literally, and then they're taught how to do it. Follow these directions, do this, set up a 501c3. In fact, we got someone else that can help you piggyback and get you in, because you can't just easily get a 501c3. You got to have an endorsement from someone else. There's all kinds of things that you've got to do. So like they're being shown how to do these things. Like your average American that was born and raised here in America, regardless of the color of their skin, they don't know how to set all that crap up.
No,
They don't know how to scam the government out of that kind of money. That's
right.
what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, it seems like that these are obviously scam operations by somebody else setting them up, and then they're obviously collecting.
Even
like
more,
that's the thing.
taking
It's
a
like
huge cut.
Wait, even more to that, one of the phone numbers of the daycares, what's his name, Maverick, called it, and it went straight to Tim Walt's office on the day. Like literally, one of the daycares listed the phone number goes to Tim Walt's office. So if you don't think this is a problem,
what Aaron was saying, that I believe that what this is likely is like when Ukraine and all these other governments, of course Israel too, when they get billions of dollars of these aid packages, like where is the money actually going? Like where's the accountability for that, where actually this money goes? And I think lots of people have believed that it's very possible that all this is money laundering. So I don't believe that all these Somalis are all super rich now.
no.
How much money do they actually get out of this scam?
They're getting a base salary. They're getting a base salary. That's all they're getting.
Yeah,
probably
they're being
right.
lied to and probably just handing over the money. They're like, oh, you just got to sign this document and then say. They're probably not even told that the numbers they're given is actually money. They're probably told it's just things. Just
They're probably
once you receive it,
getting
give
the
it to them.
debit cards that they're already giving these immigrants. It's likely like the mob, right? That they have a degree of separation from like the low level flunkies who are actually doing all the actual crime.
Bro,
So
one of the
when-
guys got charged for 10 years for stealing $45 million. 10 years. I will go to jail for 10 years for $45 million, okay? I'm all right with that.
So
what a deal. What a
I
deal.
agree that there's a level of separation, but I also think that their body language and their reactions on the cameras speak loud and clear. I think they know way more than you would expect. I think they know that they're involved in something corrupt.
Well, I mean, obviously, when you're talking about the amount of money that it's being involved, when they're saying that $9 billion in just Minnesota, I mean, and that's what they know of. I mean, so I saw somebody posting on X, and I think they said that they had some kind of nonprofit child care thing in Florida, and they were saying like the process and the amount of involvement that the federal government has when you actually set something up like that, where you would have, if not monthly, if not weekly visits, where they would come and check their enrollment. They would check if the kids are being taught the right things. They would make sure they were healthy. They would make sure that
they're leering.
They make sure they're learning all the alphabet and everything and how to spell. No, I mean, so it only makes sense that if you give somebody
the leering sign, they put a sticker over the word leering and changed it to learning, and it's so obvious too. It's like a really stupid looking decal.
I mean, you just think about it. Of course, we're coming to the end of the year, and a lot of people are trying to make sure that their taxes are kind of up to par for like what they're going to have to pay the government. And you think about like if you and I didn't pay, thousands of dollars in taxes, how quickly they would find out. And how quickly we would just be right under the boot of the government. And we're talking about if somebody gave you $1 million in federal funding, how much accountability that is. Because again, you think about it, like the way it should work is that if I loan somebody this money and I know it's supposed to be meant for this certain thing, would I be checking up on that money? Because if I don't, well, then a lot of people would say, well, how do I even know they even got the money? How do I know what they're using it for? And then it could come back on the person who's supposed to be in charge of looking back on them. And that's exactly who should be going to jail, not just necessarily the low-level people that are accepting the money. It's the people who are supposed to be in charge of the accountability for this money.
That's
those
problem.
People I want. Those are the people we want locked up.
Yes, and that's the problem right now. Like everyone should be like, hey, look, we don't care about the Somalis that took the money. We want to know who the Somalis gave the money to. And in fact, the guys that took the money, I don't even know if we should even put them in prison, to be completely honest.
Well, they should be kicked out. They should be kicked out of the country.
Them back to their country and be like, yo, get out of here.
Yeah,
You were being taken advantage of. You're stupid for doing that, and that's not your fault. You didn't know because some rich dude showed up and said, hey, sign this thing. The Somalis should not be going to prison like this. They should just be kicked back to their country. And then the people that they gave the money to we need to say, who did you give the money to? Where did your account go? Where did the money trail? And those are the people that we need to send to prison.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
what we need to be doing, looking one level higher than because right now everyone's like, just like that little, the closer time to realize the truth, the closer time to realize the truth, the closer time. Now we're realizing the truth on par, like at time. But there's a deeper truth, which is who's causing it, and we got to get closer to that truth. And once we realize that, that's when we're going to really start like kicking out some corruption. And it's us that does it, guys. We're not waiting for Superman to show up. Ain't no savior. Donald Trump's obviously not going to save nobody. So like literally the only thing that's saving it is all of us collectively waking up with collective pressure of us realizing, yeah, this is a bunch of bullcrap. And when we all do it, guess what? The FBI shows up there. The DHS shows up there. It's because all of us media, all of us are talking about it, and there's no denying it at this point. They have no choice but to show up there because their families are all going, what's wrong with you, parent? Why aren't you like looking into this? Their families are pressuring the people, and they have no choice to go and do it. So that's what's happening right now.
Well, right. I would say to your point is that if you came from a country in Africa and you're told by some powerful person in that town, here's how you make this money. Do they even know that they're breaking the law? You know what I'm saying? Like this is what they know of this country. So like the people who are obviously supposedly in charge of what's right and wrong in here are conspiring with them to commit major fraud of the U.S. taxpayer.
No, they're being used. Like they're 100% being used. Like you kind of got to feel a little bit bad for them. I know it's hard to say that because it's like, no, dude, like they know what they're doing, but like we don't know for sure that they do.
Right. Wait, they don't even know how to spell learning, guys.
Right.
They
no, for real.
They're doing.
Yeah. I mean, that's the level of kind of intelligence they're working for. So like if you promise this person, let's just say thousands of dollars, which is a ton of money to them. Like what should they say no?
And it's kind of sad because like they will be the ones to take the fall. Like it was set up that way.
Right. That is what I expect. I honestly expect nothing. But if anybody's going to jail, it's people who are obviously the low level pawns in this.
It's the people that didn't actually do anything wrong.
Right. Yeah, that's wild. I mean, of course, when you're talking about this amount of money, it should not surprise anybody in the least that when somebody tries to expose this, all the bad things that are going to happen to them. So what's interesting is that particularly that one daycare that was called the Learing Center, there was a guy yesterday who came out and he was saying, as Brian said, oh, well, the reason nobody was there is because it's an after school thing. And so only people come after 2 p.m. And then so a lot of people in the comments were saying, okay, if that's true, well, let's just see your books. Well, there's a problem. The books got stolen, Brian. Did you guys hear about this?
Yesterday morning, I was called by the owner because unfortunately someone came in to our daycare. We looked and saw what happened, and we saw that the suspect came in from the back, broke in from the back kitchen, and he also destroyed the wall to come in. As we walked around the daycare, we saw that our office doors was broken into as well. We saw that, unfortunately, there was important documentation, enrollment of the children, and also employee documentation that was gone. There were also checkbooks that were ripped from our check papers that were ripped from our book. This is devastating news, and we don't know why this is targeting our Somali community, as one video made by a specific individual made this all happen. We've been receiving hateful messages through our voice notes threatening us since the past couple of days.
I'm sorry, but I couldn't pay attention to anything but the cliche staple white American woman in the background making all of the absurd, like, agreeable gestures. Like, how absurdly obnoxious is that? Like, intentionally placed there to get all of the white Americans to agree when dude's clearly fumbling over his words. Like he couldn't even get all of that information out. Like, he knew it was BS. Everyone knows it's BS. The girl that's acting in the
Wait a minute. You don't believe the dog ate my homework excuse?
yeah,
Wait,
dude.
guys, he did seem really nervous. Maybe it's possible that they actually ran a legit daycare, and then the bad guys came in and said, well, let's just put the blame on these guys and let's steal their stuff, and it would be so unbelievable, and everyone will think they're the idiots and they'll frame these guys. Who knows?
I think it's just further proof that they're puppets from someone else, and someone else is calling all the shots, and they're literally just taking orders. Like, it's like, I can understand how people would be so mad at their community and be like, no, they know what they're doing. Screw you guys. Like I can understand how people see that. And some of them might know what they're doing. At some level, some of them know what they're doing. But like the foot soldiers at the bottom, they're just trying to make some money, man. They're
trying to live.
Well, allow me to maybe say what he's saying is not completely untrue. This is a possibility. What if somebody did steal their books? What if somebody did steal their checkbook?
That's what I'm saying.
Because it's not because there was a bunch of kids on those enrollments. It's because it implicates somebody who's in the government that actually took the stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? Was there any incriminating information in their
100%.
books that might fall back on somebody in Tim Wall's office?
Absolutely. That's what I'm thinking.
It could be. I mean, it very well could be, or it could just be BS. I mean, that's what most people believe. But regardless, that's really suspicious. It wasn't somebody trying to implicate them that would have taken that. It's somebody who wants to protect them and potentially somebody else in a higher position.
When I say it's BS, what I'm saying is either those books never existed, or it was an inside job.
Right. Well, no, that's well, I think those are your two possibilities. Those are the only two possibilities that are plausible. Either yes, it's like the dog ate my homework is obviously I didn't do my homework. I blamed it on the dog. Now, if it actually was stolen, it's not because these books were clean. It's because they weren't.
I don't get that he's lying fully. I think he's telling maybe the truth. I just think he's like obviously being deceived, and he's like somebody that was like the dumbest one that they could be like, look, we're going to put you on the camera.
Yeah, he's saying what he was told to say.
This is a hostage video. That's what that is. That's a hostage video.
Completely.
Yeah. They're like, look, this is what happened. You're just going to tell him what happened. And he's just like, okay.
They said, who made the sign? Let's let him talk.
Yeah, let's let him talk for sure.
Who forgot the end in learning?
He's the best speller here. Let's have him do this. Let's have him do it.
I mean, he did get about 3 of those words right in the sign. 3 out of 4 is not bad. So anyways, let's move on. Let's see where we want to go from here. Oh, it was interesting. So a lot of people were hitting me up because, guys, unfortunately, this little season's been debunked again. Ed Mayberry and this other guy, I don't know who he is, was on the confessionals. So yeah, Tony Merkel has two guys on his show to talk about the little season for the first time he ever talked about it, and he invites two guys on who really don't understand it. So check out this clip.
A lot of our detail comes from the book of Revelation by the Apostle John, who speaks about these things in the future tense. The problem is Revelation was written in 95 AD, 25 years after the siege of Jerusalem. Why would he be speaking about events in the past using the future tense, saying these things will happen? That doesn't make any sense. Now, the counter argument by the preterists and by the folks who trumpet the little season is that, oh no, well, we should have the dates wrong. John actually wrote it in the 60s AD. Big problem with that. How about an eyewitness? What does an eyewitness say? Irenaeus, who was the disciple of Polycarp, who was the disciple of John. He knew John shortly before his death. He would actually talk to him. He would see John sitting under a tree in his last few days, and they spoke. They knew each other. Irenaeus says that John penned the book of Revelation during the reign of the Roman Emperor Diocletian. Diocletian reigned from 81 AD to 96 AD. So why would someone who knows John say that he wrote the book during the reign of Diocletian, if Diocletian reigned after the siege of Jerusalem? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't, because that's not when John wrote Revelation, when he saw those visions. Those happened to him on Patmos in the 90s AD, long after the siege of Jerusalem, and he speaks of it all future tense. All the church fathers in the second and third centuries, none of them said, hey, Jesus is here. No. Origen, Augustine, Ephraim the Syrian, you name all these church fathers, wouldn't you think they would have said something about being under the reign of Jesus? They would have been under that 1,000-year reign if it had just begun. It would only be a few hundred years old. He would still be in the prime of the millennial kingdom. They write nothing about it. In fact, they talk about the end times in future tense. Irenaeus talks about the rapture in future tense. Even the Syrian speaks about the rapture, future tense, meaning that, and they believe in a pre-tribulation rapture. And whether you believe it or not is irrelevant. They believed it, and they have it future tense. Well, if they're talking about an event before the tribulation happening in the future, 100 to 200 years after the siege of Jerusalem, and they're expecting it to happen in the future, then clearly it didn't happen in the past, unless you believe they're all lying, or of course, Satan doctored all the records. Because as I joke in one of my videos, if there was a mascot for the little season, it would be Dana Carvey's character from Saturday Night Live back in the 80s, the church lady, because every time something would go wrong, she would say, could it be Satan? That is the excuse you get from the little season people. Every time he brings up something in history, Satan did it. Well, why are there still mountains and islands? Satan, he covered it up. Why is there no evidence of the kingdom of Jesus? Well, Satan did it.
Okay, that's enough. That's all I can take of that.
All right, JT, cook. Let's see you cook.
Everything he said was wrong. Everything he said was wrong in there. What I think was really interesting is just the way he kind of phrased it. For one, he says that the book of Revelation was written in 95 AD. That's disputed. Again, even he kind of acknowledges that some people say it was written in the 60s. So obviously, one of our points is we always come back to is that, so if he did write it in the 90s, why did he never write about the destruction of Jerusalem?
Pretty obvious.
Why is that never written about in the Bible? That's a big omission. And I think that there's a reason why they didn't write about it, because all the canon of scriptures were closed because it hadn't happened yet. So yes, I believe that he wrote it in the 60s. And the funny thing about what he said was, the two things that really stood out to me like a sore thumb was the fact that, how about an eyewitness? So he talks about Irenaeus saying that he was a disciple of Polycarp, and Polycarp was a disciple of John. But then he said that he spoke to John under a tree in his last days. Polycarp did. If you look up the writings of Polycarp, he never mentioned that he met John. And then so Irenaeus was supposedly a disciple of Polycarp. Well, Polycarp never writes about Irenaeus as in ever having known him. So just based on just what he said, Irenaeus is not an eyewitness to anything. He's saying he knew a guy who knew John. And this guy never said that he knew John. So I think that's a big deal. I mean, it's kind of like you're talking about an eyewitness to the destruction of Jerusalem. Irenaeus is not one of them. And then he says that he believed that John wrote the revelation of Jesus Christ under Emperor Diocletian. Who? Does he mean Domitian? I mean, it really actually blows my mind because there actually is an emperor in Rome named Diocletian, a Diocletianus, but he reigned in, I'm going to say, like 284 AD to like 306 AD. So that puts him into the 4th century, like right before Constantine. And actually, that led me down a nice rabbit hole because we'll have to get in that to at another time. But yeah, there was massive persecution of the church under this Diocletianus, and I think that's really interesting too. So I want to say there was one writer, Christian apologist, who wrote that was the apocalypse. So that was also interesting. But the point being is that everything he said was wrong about that. And it kind of blows me away that Tony Merkel obviously has a massive platform. He has over 300,000 subs on YouTube. He's got, all told, he's probably got over 1 million on all his social medias combined. He doesn't know what he said was wrong. And he clipped that part for his podcast to talk about the little season, kind of ignoring the mountains of evidence and then focusing on something that is just provably false based on what he said. And so I've had a lot of people say, hey, you should go on the confessionals and talk about the little season. Well, I haven't been invited. And I think it's telling that the first time that Tony wants to talk about this, he brings on a guy who's tried to debunk the little season, I don't know, about 10 times now, and never has done a good job of it. He's always misrepresenting what we say. So, I mean, I think that's telling, and I think that's kind of why I've resisted doing other shows where I'm more than willing to go on a show to talk to somebody who wants to have a discussion about it. I mean, just, what it said. We always quote Proverbs 18:13, that it's folly and shame unto you if you answer a matter before you've heard it. So it's like they are trying to debunk something before they even hear us out. So like that's the whole point, is like that if I got invited on, I would likely go on. I really don't want to debate. I mean, honestly, that would be really difficult to sit through somebody talking like that who doesn't know what they want to talk, know what they're talking about.
We just pull up the Google and just be like, oh, really? That's what happened? Here, let's just Google that real quick and be like, oh, where does it say that? Oh, it doesn't say that? Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, you don't have to debate to challenge someone on the truth.
No.
I mean, we've had private conversations, and I've seen you have conversations with other people where it's not even a debate. You're just questioning. And that's what we do. We whittle down with the truth. And if someone says something that we know for a fact isn't true, we kindly say, okay, well, but where are you getting that from? Where is that coming from? Because my thing is, if I'm wrong, that's fine. I actually love being wrong because that means I've got room for growth and I want to stop speaking lies. You know what I'm saying? That's my stance.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I think that's the thing where
if you come on a podcast, JT, just go like this. Just go, look, I am here to be with you. I want my theory to be wrong. So please prove it wrong. And I'm just going to ask some questions when you present evidence that might make you think that I might not be wrong. That this
change my mind. Change
my mind, please.
Well, I think it's
then you can oppose it like, oh, this happened, this, and go, really? Are you sure that happened? Let's just check. Let's just check.
I mean, but it's funny just based on just what he's saying. I'll give him a little bit. I'll try to be as charitable as I can. He meant Domitian. I don't know how he got it wrong, but I mean, that's what he meant. So if you believe that the Book of Revelation was written in 95 AD based on Irenaeus, is that it? Is it one guy who says he knew a guy who knew John? I mean, I'm sorry, that is not enough for me when I see the mountains of evidence, and obviously nothing more than the words of Christ himself. And so that's the funny thing. You see all these comments about the Book of Revelation saying, oh, some people say every bit of it's in the future. I said, but what about the verses that literally timestamp it as they're talking about right now?
Yeah, there was not one stone will be lifted.
That's in
not one person standing here today will not see.
No, I'm just talking specifically about the Book of Revelation because it says Jesus tells John, it says, you're gonna see these things, the things that are and the things that will come to pass after this. So obviously he's talking about things that are happening right then. John is telling these churches that he's their brother in tribulation. And then later it says, in I think Revelation 17, it says that there were 5 kings that were, there's one that is, and there's one that's going to come. So at that point, you've already know that some of this stuff is clearly in the past because they're talking about 5 kings that were and one that is. So there was a king right then, and there was only one to come later. So we're told historically that there was many more emperors of Rome after that. So how confusing is that to people who read the book, who got the original letters? So no, absolutely, 100% provably, the book was not all in the future. Because the internal dialogue, let Scripture interpret Scripture, says that it was happening then. And so when it says, don't seal up this prophecy because the time is at hand, Jesus says, I'm coming quickly, all those timestamps. So is Irenaeus enough for me to discount what the Bible actually says? Because I would say that the Scriptures go above any word of any man. I knew a guy who knew a guy. Trust me, bro. It's all in the future. It was Diocletian. There's no emperor Diocletian. Like, what is it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy to me that you have this massive platform. And I think that's our biggest kind of criticism with shows like The Confessionals. We played the clips of Nathan Reynolds, and he's obviously just only one person that goes on these shows who does a confessional. Do any of these people ever get challenged on the things that are provably false that they say?
No.
And
don't
I think
so.
that's my hesitancy to ever do that show. And I would straight up tell him, if he ever wanted me to come on the show, that, hey, listen, do you really care what's true, or am I just going on to be a thumbnail? Or are you going to go on just to debunk me? Because I've heard a lot of wrong things on your podcast. Do you care about that? So like it's sort of weird to me that somebody like him, like Tony, who has people talking about Satan's creating this hybrid army secretly in dumbs under the earth, and he's saying what I'm saying is dangerous. Do you have any receipts for that, bro? Other than a guy who told you that? You know what I mean? It's
dangerous
wild
too
to me.
because it's dangerous because of the way that it's spoken and the way that it's clipped and in the way that it's shared. It's not shared. And I think, like, as believers, we've talked about this before, as believers, we have a responsibility to deliver the truth, as we know the truth, and we know that if it's not supported in Scripture, if it's not 100% supported in Scripture, we can't claim it as truth. And so, like, we got to be so careful about the things that we don't know for certain are truth. And we've got to make sure we let people know, like, you know, could it be, or is it possible, or it is possible that this, and this. But what we know for sure is this, because we read in this book, in this chapter, you know what I mean? Like, we have to show what we believe is the truth. You get a guy on there talking like that, and like you said, he couldn't even get the guy's name right. But people are going to be searching that term and not even find it.
No, people,
you know what I mean?
That's the problem. I think that a lot of people listening
They
to
won't
him
search.
are not going to know that what he said was wrong.
And what
But
if
I'm
it's
saying, but, like,
erroneous
obviously
and
that-
not
that-
erroneous?
But I'm saying, like, that's a real big issue if you don't even know the emperors you're talking about. So what else
his
are you
name is
wrong?
Error Inasis.
I know. It's almost like his name is erroneous.
I was going to say, what if it's erroneous and not erroneous? Erroneous sounds very fancy.
Well, it's just it's interesting, and I think that that's what. And
guys
I
can
don't
start
throw
calling
out
me
all
Irenaeus.
the writings of the early church fathers, but I think that it's really interesting to me, again, because this is what I always point to, is the lack of manuscripts, the lack of documentation for these early church fathers. When, again, if you believe that maybe the timeline's distorted, when did they actually write these things? Who actually were they? I mean, so of course, if you read just based on his writings, he lived after the times of John. But he doesn't have any direct connection to any apostle. And there's very sparse connections between any of the early church fathers with the apostles. I mean, there's some, but I mean, of course, it's very sparse. So I guess the thing that I wonder is again the lack of evidence that there is a really strong tradition of these apostles, you know, leaving these churches before they get martyred and passing the baton off to a church father, where you could have a direct one-to-one connection, where here's a letter from Paul to the church in Ephesus when he's in jail about to be executed, saying, hey, I'm leaving this church to this elder, to this overseer, and he's kind of the man I trust with these churches. So the lack of that makes me think that that what we believe is correct, because there's some kind of a break and there's separation between all these other writings between these men. And if you think about it, Paul and John and the other apostles are setting up churches all over the place. Why isn't there a ton of early church fathers? You know, why aren't they everywhere? But we have, like, you know, people rely on, like, I don't know, 5 or 6, and they're separated by hundreds of years. That's weird, right?
So then the question is, do you think that, not necessarily him, we'll use him as the example, but do you think he is, or people like that are stating that argument and getting things wrong, do you think people are trying to debunk the little season on purpose? Like, do you think there's an overarching objective to shoot it down because they don't want us to know the season we're in? Or do you think it's cognitive dissonance, where it's just a lack of understanding and there's cognitive dissonance because they don't want to believe that we're in that season? Because I'll tell you, my journey on all of that, there was a point in time where I was going through all of this stuff, like in the late 2000 teens, when I was discussing Tartaria and all of that kind of architecture and all of that stuff on Facebook. Back when, like, I mean, everybody thought I was a freak because I was talking about flat earth and I was talking about all this other stuff, and no one was really talking about that stuff yet, specifically on Facebook, and or really anywhere. But, like, I remember someone posing the idea that the millennial reign had already happened. And because they were saying, they're like, dude, the only explanation for all of that stuff is Jesus already came back. And I remember the feeling that I got, and I thought that was blasphemy. I thought that that was heresy.
Yeah.
I blocked that guy because I'm like, dude, no, for real. Like, I blocked it. I'm like being like the advocate here that, like, has been through this before, and I understand the other side. I blocked him because I'm like, dude, this dude's a heretic. How dare you talk about my Jesus like that, and all of this other stuff. Well, it was also
100%.
it was also fear on my end because I was scared that, like, I didn't know enough to challenge it, and so it was cognitive dissonance. It was one of those things where it was pride, but it was also fear, and it was a lack of knowledge.
It's the reason why everybody right now doesn't want that to be true, because of pride. Because literally it's like all of this pride that they have and all this messaging that they're wrong. Like, oh, I figured out what revelation means, guys. I figured out if you do
Ed has a book. Ed has a book. Ed has a book about breaking down the book of Revelation. So yeah, that there's
that guy.
He's got a lot of skin. He's got a lot of skin in the game. Yeah.
There's pride tethered to this ideology all the time. Everyone that hears it is like, if you've talked about it, oh no, I did a class on Revelation once before. That can't be true. Oh, it's pride, bro. It's the reason why everybody is afraid of it. It's pride, or they believe that the person that there's pastor that they worship, that they love so much, could never be wrong, and their pastor told them that Revelation's coming. So how could you're calling my pastor wrong? That's literally what it is. It's pride. It's pride all the way around. Everywhere, every which way you look at it.
I would say it's both. I would say that I believe, like, a guy like Ed, I think that he literally is. It's cognitive dissonance. I think that for a lot of people like him, that they probably are more like you were when you first heard it, or even like me. When I first heard it, I was like, well, no, I mean, it's weird, but I don't really know what to say. But I never really came out against it as strongly as something like that, where I tried to debunk it. You know, I was like, at one point I did do a live stream, and I was saying, like, well, then where's Jesus at? And I was saying it's kind of dangerous to say that he's not coming, because he already came, if you don't really know where he's at. And eventually I found it, you know, I did kind of revisit scriptures, and I said, you know what, there's a lot of reason to believe that he's in heavenly Jerusalem reigning, and not necessarily that he could be hiding somewhere on this terrestrial plane.
Yeah, because his whole ministry was about the spirit realm, dude. His whole ministry was about having faith in the unseen. His whole ministry.
100%. So that's why I said that when I did revisit it. But I mean, the point is, when I first heard it, I didn't like that idea. It made sense a little bit, but I was like really resistant to it. Now, there's the other kind of people that are likely just gatekeepers, because I see a lot of those people, you know, and you guys can decide who's who. But I would say that the idea that it's offensive to even talk about or to even consider, I think that's silly. I mean, it's silly. It's silly. It is prideful to say that we know everything. We can rely on this historical record, which, again, when you actually look into it, it's pretty non-existent. You got separations by hundreds of years and select men, manuscripts that are found like a couple hundred years ago that are supposedly 2,000 years old.
Like three manuscripts, and that's it. Like three different people's opinions determine something.
Well, I guess I'll say, like, go look
maybe
this up.
One or two.
Go look up like the oldest manuscript they have for the writings of Irenaeus or Polycarp, and ask me and show me how recent. Yeah, well, just show me how recent they are. Tell me if you've actually got an original writing from him from 300 or from like the second century.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have that, like I said, that's a problem for me.
Then it might be erroneous.
Well, it could. Well, the point is that how much would it really take for somebody to manipulate things that somebody said that long ago? You know, that's why books of the Bible are not in the Bible. I mean, obviously there's a book from Irenaeus in the Bible. So no church fathers decided that was worthy of including in the canon of scriptures. Polycarp's writings are not in there. Clement's writings are not in there. You know, Justin Martyr, nobody like that. They don't have a book in the Bible. And I do think just internally, let's just say we do live in the year 2025. I think it's crazy to think that if you read your Bible, that God has not acted or talked through his prophets through that long a period of time. Like we're supposed to believe that it's been almost 2,000 years since we've heard a real prophet speak about what's coming. Like, show me another example of that happening in the Bible where God went silent through his prophets. But of course, what it says in Hebrews, it says that in times past, God spoke to his people through his prophets. But then in these last days, he spoke to us through his son. So that's what the Bible says. Yeah,
last days.
That's what the Bible says. So that's what the Bible's calling the last days. So for me, I have a more comfortable just position where I say, I have a hard time squaring those verses versus the history that says this has not happened versus me being able to just question the history and saying, I know that's true because I can't actually prove that it's not true. And of course, I'm trying to prove that the Bible is true. And I think that's where I think that's the more saddening part is that I believe the Bible. I believe you ask any of those guys on that podcast, they'd all say they do too. So we all believe it. Now it's really about where we are on the biblical timeline. And that's not reason to try to call people heretics. But again, I do think there's people who are willing to have conversations about things that they find uncomfortable. And those are people that I like. And there's people who try to shut down conversation. And that's kind of almost you get back into like the Israel topic, where you're not allowed to talk about that. And when you're not allowed to talk about something, that's the thing you probably should be talking about. Because there's a reason why they're telling you they're trying to shut it down before anybody hears it. But when people do hear it, and then they hear people like that with powerful platforms trying to suppress this stuff, you start to question. You're like, see, wouldn't Satan's little season be just like that?
Well, and I will say,
yes, it would be.
JT, you are at the level where the witches and warlocks that are embedded amongst us that are pretending to be Christians, you are at the level where they're gonna do their thing. They're gonna try to, you know what I'm saying? Like they're gonna be coming out against whatever truth they don't want people believing.
Right. Well, I mean, just think about it, just in a macro sense of like what Satan's little season would be about.
Well, it's
like
Satan.
when you
think about that, it's Satan, and when you got to say that it's Satan, he's the one that's in control ultimately, that's affecting all these things. Which, when I say it's pride, ultimately it's Satan that's the one that's in control. So we don't have to think that like there's secret people that know what's going on. They have no clue what's going on.
In control of the deception. Let's be clear. Right. He's not in control.
Exactly.
He's in control of the deception.
Exactly. You're working for Satan because you're prideful. By default, you're on the other team. It don't even matter what you're doing. The fact that you're not willing to sit down and ask the proper questions because of your pride, you are working for the devil. And it doesn't matter if you're evil intent or if you even know that you're working for the devil. Irrelevant. It's ridiculous. That's not how it works. That's not how anything works. These people are unknowingly working for the side of evil when you come against truth without evidence to prove it. You're prideful, and it's satanic.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that, again, how I would expect the little season to be, that if this information was well preserved and we knew everything about the past, it'd be much harder for the devil to deceive people. So the fact that it's not gives room for the devil to put people in positions of power, gatekeepers, people, theologians, politicians, historians,
Popular
academia,
podcasts.
the scientists, all the people on podcasts. And then they say, trust me, bro, I'm an authority. It's kind of just like 2020 over, on steroids.
I wrote a book on it. You better believe me.
Trust the science. You guys are not experts like we are. So shut up. All these other people are fringe. And these people obviously are benefiting through the system that they've got, where obviously they're all profiting. And so, yes, I believe that, just like we were talking about with when you think about somebody who's like an asset for, the governments and people like that, I think most of them do believe what they're saying. Some of them probably already know a little bit of things they don't talk about, but I think in general, they believe what they're saying. So they're the best advocate for this false position because they do believe it. And they'll fight for it. And obviously they've established careers based on this, wrote books about it. So then when you have all these kind of internet sleuths or people like us who are digging down and doing research who don't really know where this is going, and then we start to find things that pick at the narrative, then they're saying, these people are idiots. Stop listening to them. They're dangerous. When you think the religious establishment is what Jesus fought against, so now you have people who are kind of the establishment saying, don't listen to these other people, even though we're all advocating that Christ told the truth and we've been lied to about everything else.
Well, and to Brian's point, pride is the number one conduit for the demonic realm to come in and influence and speak through you, because you're blind. You're so blinded by pride, you just want to be right. At that point in time, you want to be right, and you're going to speak whatever those demons are feeding into your heart and your mind just to be right. And so I think you're right. I think a lot of the gatekeepers, so to speak, are unwittingly spewing lies based on the fact that they just don't want to be wrong.
Right. Okay.
The implications of them being wrong for so long, telling this many people this lie that they've been peddling.
It would cut them down to size. They would lose
that's
their
what I'm
finances.
saying.
They would lose their credibility.
Well, right. You're absolutely right, Brian, because again, that's where the pride aspect comes in, because it's not often you hear these people go on there and give a mea culpa saying, hey, remember those things I've been saying like the last 3 years?
I was wrong.
I was wrong about that. I mean, praise God that I didn't have this platform as big as it is now before, because it would be harder. It would be harder but honestly, I do believe in you guys
talking about Revelation coming all the time, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh no.
I mean, that's what again, that's how I started, so that I have admitted I was wrong about that. But also we could be wrong about this. If presented with better information, maybe we could be wrong and we could change our minds. And I think I have
no problem changing my mind.
I've already set myself up as a person who is willing to do that. So if I was debunked fully, like really, then I would have to sit down and say, you know what, this guy actually has a good position. I don't know if I can refute this. But I have not heard that yet. And I think that's the problem, is the fact that they're not actually presenting our case to anyone. They're just tearing down straw men. So anyways, I did promise some old videos. This was
really quickly, you have done that. You're one of that's one of the reasons why you and I are actually friends, because you're one of the very few people in the public eye or on public platforms that has done that. You've gone in and removed content. You've removed things and said, I spoke too soon, or I shouldn't have done it. You've done that. And I know you would do that again in the future, regardless of what it is, because our community expects that kind of truth from us. Like, that is being a truther, whatever that means. That is representing the truth. It's not being afraid to say I was wrong. I've changed my thoughts. Here's why. And I've removed that stuff because it's harmful.
Well, I've never presented myself as an expert of anything. So when people do try to get me to go on these shows, it's like, I'm perfectly honest with people by saying, I know a little bit about a lot. This makes the most sense to me. And I always point out that I'm on this truth journey just like you guys are.
I'm an expert in making mistakes.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But anyways, I thought this was a really good video. So this was going back into the archives a little bit. This was a pretty decent little season video. And this could be something that could be played on like the confessionals, and I wonder what they would have to say about this.
I feel like a lot of Christians don't know this. When Jesus Christ returns for a second time, he will reign here on earth for 1,000 years with his glorified saints. And during this time, Satan will be locked up for these 1,000 years, so there will be no deception on earth. But after Jesus Christ reigns on earth for 1,000 years, Satan will be released for a short season to deceive all nations here on earth and to gather his army against God's people. This army is compared to grains of sand on a beach. And once he gathers this army, they will surround the camp of the saints, and then God will send fire from heaven, destroying the entire earth. That's when every single human who has ever lived will be resurrected to be judged, Judgment Day. And for everybody whose name is written in the book of life shall reside on the new earth that God creates. Here, and God's holy city will come down from heaven so God can reside here on the new earth. The one thing that gets me about this prophecy is that in the beginning of Revelation, when these things are being revealed to John, he is told to warn the 7 churches in Asia for what is to come. Mind you, this is 2,000 years ago. He's pretty much telling them to get their act together because when Jesus Christ comes back, if it's not, then they're toast. These are literal places that you can look up. So look them up, and what do you see? They are all destroyed. All the ancient temples are in pieces there. And that can lead one to one conclusion.
I remember seeing that video. He put that out about a week after you put your video out saying the exact same thing.
Well, probably about the destruction of all those churches in Revelation. But yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that he said, and I want to read this last thing, and maybe we'll move on from the little season, but I thought this is a verse that doesn't get quoted often. If you go down to the very end of the book of Revelation, chapter 22, I thought this is really interesting the way it's phrased. Okay, so I often quote this, and it says, this is Revelation 22, starting with verse 10. And he said to me, do not seal up the words of this prophecy of this book, for the time is near. And it says, verse 11, let the evildoer still do evil, and the filthy still be filthy, and the righteous still do right, and the holy still be holy. And then it says, behold, I'm coming soon, bringing recompense with me to repay each one for what he has done. And so the way it's written, it's like this is happening right now. People don't even change at this point. It's like if you're one of my people, be righteous. If you're evil, do evil.
Yeah, just carry on.
There's no time. I mean, that's what's being said. So, yeah, if you know that this was written to actual people, actual churches, and this is the message they got, like, what are they supposed to take from that? That they've got plenty of time, like thousands of years, multiple lifetimes and generations of people? Or is he saying it's happening right now? So that's what I'm saying. And that's where I basically throw all my chips in, where I'm saying, this is either true or it's not true. Is it true? I believe it's true. Now, the people saying it didn't happen, I believe they're saying it's not true. Regardless of what they would say, and they'd be mad that I said that, but that's what they're actually saying by what they're teaching.
But here's the difference, though. I want I want to draw this clarity. You're not saying it did happen. You're saying you believe it happened. They are saying it didn't happen.
Yeah,
they're not saying I believe it didn't happen. They're straight up just saying that didn't happen. You're not even saying it absolutely did. You're just saying based on all of the evidence and based on the truth that we have available to us, I believe it happened. Correct. That's that. Like, no one's paying attention to that.
Well, right.
And the way we speak about this stuff matters.
Absolutely. Yeah. Praise God. Because that's what I'm saying is that do I have proof that this happened? No. Do I have evidence?
With pieces.
Yes. We have evidence. We don't have proof. But like Brian often said, that this is what God does, is God does give some plausible deniability of these things, where he doesn't tell you everything, because part of this is about faith and belief.
Absolutely.
Right? So you're saying like that it was easy when Jesus shows up and the Pharisees are saying, well, he was obviously born out of fornication, out of adultery or something like that. He's calling his mother a whore.
Tons of people called Jesus' mom's a whore, Jesus' mom a whore. They called Mary a prostitute. Like tons of people, because it was just enough for people to doubt and go, is that really how it is?
Bro, Joseph tried to get away.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
God had to come to him in a dream and say, get your butt back there, dude.
So how could Mary have proved to somebody that she was impregnated as a virgin with the Holy Spirit?
No way. There's no way.
There's absolutely no proof. there's not proof of that. But we believe it. We believe it based on obviously Jesus himself and the things that he did. But you cannot prove that. But I think that is such as faith. That's such as all the things that are written, is that there's always a little bit of that, of like, did he really rise from the dead? Right? And some people would obviously believe it and some people would not believe it. And I think that's exactly what Jesus tells Thomas. Blessed are you who have seen and believe, but more blessed are those who have believed and not seen.
Not seen.
So
Amen.
that's who we are today.
Just like the soldier, dude, that came to the house and asked him to heal his servant at home by faith. And he told him, you have more faith than anyone among us. And so he healed him from a distance because of his faith. Like that, again, that was his whole ministry, was faith in the unseen. So, yeah.
Amen.
That's the way of the Lord, guys. It's always that space where you just are sitting in that spot of the doubt of going, is it real? Is it this? Is it that? And you choose to believe. That's what God wants. He wants your heart.
Well, right.
And that's the difference. Sorry, just really quickly. That's the difference between faith in Jesus and people that like serve Satan, basically, in the New Age, right? So they manifest, they say their spell, they do their thing, and they get tangible reactions from that. They actually get things in return. Whereas like faith, like there's skin in the game. There's no ritual to do. Like it's faith. You either believe it or you don't. He knows your heart. And so like your faith is proven in your actions. Like you're having complete faith in the unseen. And that's when he shows up. Like he requires you to put a little skin in the game. You've got to truly have faith. Like you can't lie about faith. You can't fake your faith. Like you either have the faith or you don't have the faith. And when you have that faith, that's where he shows up. That's where he can do the most work. Sorry.
No, absolutely. And I always have to remind people of this, which is this is a basic tenet of being a Christian, is so how are we saved? We're saved by the grace of God and faith in his son. So that I've often pointed out that if Jesus was literally right there following you around, you can't really have faith in somebody who's right there, because faith is the hope in the things that are not seen.
Exactly,
faith is being faithful when somebody, you don't see them watching you all the time. That's what faith is. So I think that that's where we're at. So, and again, and this is not putting like that your faith needs to be in the little season that we're here, but we're just saying that we're reading that and we're saying, well, if I say I believe this is true, like I'm reading it and I can't read it any differently than once you see it. Once you see the immediacy of all the things that are happening, you either believe it happened or you didn't. So if you want me to prove it, it's like I can't prove any of the Bible to you, but I can show you evidence if you're willing to accept it. And that's where we're at. So anyways, here's another one of my favorite videos from the year. I think this was pre-AA Ron.
I had this friend of mine, I hadn't seen him in years. We used to agree on everything. And we just ran into each other on the street recently. And a completely different person. He's on a completely different algorithm, I tell you. No, it's weird. I ran into this guy. We used to agree on everything. We started talking about the Tartarian Empire, okay? But all these beautiful buildings we see down here, they weren't built by us. They were built by a hidden civilization that we don't know about. And then the mud floods came, and we wouldn't even know about this ancient civilization if you're nodding your head here. Yeah. We wouldn't know about any of this unless Admiral Larry Byrd had gone to Antarctica and went over the ice wall and talked to the reptilian overlords from the planet Nibiru. And we find out about the Tartarian, all this stuff, right? And I'm talking to my buddy, and he doesn't know about any of this shit. That's the thing. Like, the guy's a f***ing idiot.
See, but I point to that as the fact that, people are noticing the buildings, they're noticing the mud flood evidence. And so that when secular people, and obviously comedians like Tom Green, are saying these things, I think it's important for us as Christians to have at least a biblical answer for it. And I think that's the problem with kind of the skeptics, is they try to point to authorities like Irenaeus or Irenaeus, and they want to say, trust him, he knew a guy. Well, we're saying but there's real physical evidence of destruction and also a time of great prosperity. History does not tell us about what that is. But even Tom Green can see it, and he makes a joke about it because it does sound kooky, but there's a lot there. I mean, I thought that the one thing we mentioned when we first played that video was I think that joke only works if people kind of know what he's talking about. So I think the fact that he did use that joke and it was really going viral is because lots of people do know about what he's saying.
Yeah, and that stuff's in his wheelhouse. Like I remember right around the time he put that out, like he was posting a lot of content about the things that we were talking about in our community. He was talking about a lot of that stuff. Like he was exposing a lot of things, and he was a lot more on the cutting edge of the truth about those types of things, the shape of the earth and all of that kind of stuff right around that time when no one else in the public eye was really talking about it.
For sure. Okay, so should we play a newer video or should we play another old one? I think we should play a creepy doll video. One that AA Ron didn't get to see.
Have you ever wanted someone to take care of? Someone who needs lots of cuddling and affection? Someone you can give your love to? Well, that someone is Little Miss No Name. She's the doll who needs more loving care than any doll you've ever had. Look, she has a tear on her cheek. Little Miss No Name is sad because she doesn't have a pretty dress. She doesn't have any shoes. She doesn't even have a name. But she does have big brown eyes. Most of all, Little Miss No Name has a heart filled with love. Give her a kiss and hold her close. Take your comb and make her hair look pretty. Little Miss No Name needs a home and all the love you can give her. You'll find Little Miss No Name standing in a snowstorm box at your toy store. Take her home with you today. Little Miss No Name.
Brian, you can't tell me that they weren't trying to possess those dolls and get them in homes.
For sure, 100%. Dude, the eyes all black like that, bro, and like the tear on her cheek. I wonder if the tear cheek thing was what started all the the gangs where they tattoo tear on her cheek.
You think it was a sign
the OG,
this is why that she's killed for the Crips?
Little Miss No Name is the OG.
Oh man.
No, but for real, like that was so intentionally creepy.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
So intentionally creepy. Like they're not even trying to hide it. Yeah, they're not even trying to hide it. Like what they say in the snowstorm box or in the rainstorm box.
Well, Aaron, did you ever make any videos
Like
about this? I don't think
alien eyes over there.
I didn't make any of this. I don't think Brian ever did. Did you ever talk about on your channel the black-eyed children?
No.
You never heard anything about that?
Maybe I don't know it by that name. I have a weird memory trigger, so tell me a little bit about it.
It's just this idea that people have had these encounters with these children that show up at their doors. Yeah, that seem like they're, I don't know, homeless or something, and they're in need, and they have black eyes.
I've never heard this.
Yeah, and it's it's kind of a meme from all these kind of creepy movies that involve children being possessed. But yeah, it's like obviously it's a totally demonic thing. But that's just a story that I've heard a lot because I've never really done any research into that. But I mean, that's what that doll seems like it is, where it's like you feel bad because it's a kid, and then so you let this kid in your house, but this kid is completely a seed of Satan kind of thing. This person's not really alive. It's like this kind of undead just creature that you let into your house.
And I think that's what they were trying to do with those dolls. I think that they were trying to literally bring. I mean, I wouldn't doubt at all. I mean, we see like with Liquid Death nowadays, like they're intentionally like they hire a witch to come in there and cast spells and hexes over these cans before they sell them to everybody. I wouldn't doubt at all that they were doing that exact same thing with the dolls. No, I haven't heard that about the kids with black eyes, but I have heard personal testimonies from people about that with black cats, literally. Like I can't tell you how many people that don't know each other have told me stories about. They were going through stuff in their life, and they're cat people. They're going through stuff in their lives. A black cat shows up to their house randomly. They let it in, and they didn't know it at the time, but looking back on their life, during that season, they had the black cat in their house. It was chaos. They had chaos. They had so many bad things happening in their lives. And one of them specifically told me that as soon as they recommitted their life to Jesus, or they found Jesus, and they came to Jesus and received Jesus and believed in Jesus and received the Holy Spirit, the cat disappeared and never came back. I've heard that story from multiple people that don't know each other. How crazy is that?
Brian, have you ever researched into the idea where the whole kind of meme with the black cats and the witches come from?
You know, I haven't looked into it deeply enough to say anything that I would want to say yet. We'll say that.
Well, it's an interesting thing because obviously people talk about that. So if you do own a black
eyes are
cat,
weird though.
if you have a black cat, you definitely don't want that thing getting outside around Halloween because they get used for ritualistic.
Kill them.
Yeah, they use for rituals. Because that's just something, again, it's in the movies, it's in the cartoons, it's in the culture where black cats are associated with witches and also their bad luck. So obviously that kind of goes to your point, Aaron, where somebody let this black cat in their house, it crosses your path, and now all kinds of just weird anomalies happen in your life, and it's all bad. So like that comes from somewhere.
But when they received Jesus, the thing disappeared.
That's interesting.
Like straight up. And I'm just like, wait, what? And then so when I heard that from multiple separate people that didn't know each other telling me stories like that, I'm like, this is actually crazy. I'm not really a cat person, so I've never had that experience.
Okay, so I'm gonna read something to you real quick. It says, black cats are considered bad luck mainly because of medieval superstition, religious fear, and folklore, not because of anything inherent about the animals themselves. The belief developed over centuries, especially in Europe. And it said, during the Middle Ages, black cats were widely believed to be witches, familiar spirit helpers, shape-shifting witches, agents of demonic powers. So they were saying, and I think I've seen that in the movies too, where a witch will morph themselves into a cat.
Well, people see things oftentimes that are black, shadowy looking things that move out of the corner of your eye. They could very easily be mistaken for like cats in some capacity that created some of the lore around that. You know, I mean, that's just kind of how demons tend to move. They're like little black, fast looking, shadowy things sometimes.
Do you think it's super bizarre though, how, and I know it's not just black cats, it's all cats, but how the cat's eyes can go from round to the slit.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, we've talked about that. We mentioned that on the podcast once that they're not the only animals with that slit pupil. Obviously, we talk about the dissociation where it's very similar to a serpent eye or some kind of reptile.
But the fact that it can go seamlessly back and forth between the two is crazy.
It's just funny because we were talking about that. What's interesting about that is that when you see a house cat and you compare it to a jungle cat, some kind of a very large cat like a lion
Jungle
or leopard,
cat, that's funny, yeah.
they all have.
They don't have them.
They don't have slit pupils. But they're very similar in their kind of mannerisms between house cats and them. So it is weird, like that they're very similar, obviously much smaller, but their eyes are completely different because all of the big cats have round eyes.
So are we thinking the Nephilim back in the day did some sort of gene splicing between serpents and cats?
Well, we've talked about that. We've discussed that idea. I mean, it is interesting. Again, you go into like the mythologies in ancient Egypt, and cats were some kind of guardians of the underworld.
But yeah, they were all about that.
So, we wondered, and I thought that was kind of an interesting thing, like that obviously the Bible talks about serpents being very wise, and they kind of have this perception that's different than other animals. And cats are often get spooked by weird things, and it's like, is the pupil, is it something they can kind of peer into, maybe a different vibe of frequency? They can kind of see things that we don't see. So and that's where you get the meme of like the scaredy cat, where it's like it's freaked out over nothing, but maybe it's not nothing.
Yeah, well, so I had some friends that you've met that had a black cat, and I spent a lot of time watching their pets when they would be out of town, and I watched this cat a lot because there was reports of a lot of weird things happened around this cat specifically. And the daughter of the family like swore she saw it like run up the wall and turn into something else entirely. And then like go up above, like up on the ceiling and then come down the other side of the wall. And like, I could tell by the way she was telling the story, like she saw that, whether that actually happened or not, like she saw that and it creeped her out. I had my own weird experiences with it, but I spent a lot of time just watching it. And I'm telling you, like, this cat observed everything. It was everywhere. Everywhere I went, that cat was observing and just watching. And I would pay attention to it, And I'm telling you, dude, it would go somewhere else entirely when its eyes turned to like the slit. Like his eyes would go like when it was being sweet and it was like rubbing up on me, his eyes were round.
Right.
And I'd be petting it and it would be all sweet. And then like all of a sudden I'd see it like 2 feet away, like standing there, giving me this creepy look in his eyes were the slit. And it was just like it was in a different place entirely. Like totally different. It's like it was there but not there. I don't know. I have no answers. Like I have more questions than answers, but so freaking weird, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel the same way about it, where it's weird. I mean, we have cats. I like cats. They're very interesting. They're so different than dogs. That's why, like, a dog will love you and hang out with you, and then the cats can be so indifferent to their owners.
Yeah, if you have a cat, you are the pet.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. It's like
they're the owner.
Like, leave me alone, human. When the dog is just begging for your attention all the time.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think that's partially why people like them, because when you do get affection from a cat, it's like, oh, this is special. It's like, I did something good. I'm gonna give myself a treat now. Versus like the dog is like, the dog, leave me alone. Give me some space. Right. That's how I have to deal with my dog. But yeah, I think
it's the word.
We need a little bit of space from each other. Okay,
I'm shocked you don't know more about cats, Brian. I'm shocked you don't have something. Then why aren't we talking about it?
There's too much. There's too much.
Yeah, we don't want to spend the rest of the podcast talking about cats.
Okay.
I'm gonna do one more old video, and I just thought this was funny because it was almost something I forgot about. Do you remember when those astronauts were trapped in outer space for like a year? Remember
the ones that Trump said like maybe they'll have a romantic relationship or something like that?
I don't even know what he said. Trump is always speaking nonsense. Check this out.
Nah, bro, you cannot tell me. We are not living in a movie. So after 9 months stranded in space, the two astronauts, Sonny and Butch, they touch down to Earth in a scene so beautiful, it looks AI generated. You can see boats racing to them in the distance, and then SpaceX hits them with the coldest line that they've been waiting 286 days to hear.
Butch, Sonny, on behalf of SpaceX, welcome home.
Oh, and just when you think it couldn't get any cooler, they are welcomed by a pod of dolphins. What is this? Now keep in mind, they haven't felt gravity in like nearly a year, and you can lose about 1/3 of muscle mass in just 2 weeks. So, when they actually touched down, they needed help standing up again, and they were even given these rolling chairs so that their bodies can begin readjusting. Sonny broke the world record for the most spacewalking for a female astronaut. Oh, and apparently, they won't be paid overtime for the trip, which was only supposed to last about a week. According to their website, NASA astronauts make about $152K. Nice, 6 figures, but according to a former astronaut, Katie Coleman, they won't qualify for the months of overtime. Instead, Coleman said that they will be paid on the same basis as a federal employee on an extended business trip, which are compensated for a handful of incidentals. Please tell me that can't be true.
It's cold, man.
Well, maybe because they weren't actually in outer space, and that's why they're not getting paid a lot extra money. They were they were at some pool in Texas,
hanging
around.
Filming in front of a green
that's the
screen.
thing that's striking about it. It's like that's the thing that, again, when you can see it finally, the bad graphics, and I think that was the funny part about this from my perspective, was that it was like the CGI was too good. It was too clean. It's kind of like when you look at, I don't know, like the prequel Star Wars movies, and everything looks all clean and it looks like a video game, versus like the gritty kind of the models and stuff they did with the old Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like it looks, that universe looks lived in. The other one, it's like your brain immediately says, that's too pretty, that's not real.
Right, we got used to the clunky animatronics. Like when we saw the smooth motion capture, we're just like, eh.
Pod of dolphins, when they got there,
pretty crazy.
It's more than crazy. It's unbelievable. Like in the most literal sense. It's not believable whatsoever. Yeah, but that's the funny part also, is that they are up in the International Space Station again, that they were there and they were supposed to come back, and I can't remember exactly the date, But then they had Santa Claus hats and stuff, and they had presents.
Yeah.
It's like
where'd they get the Santa hats from? Like,
where did they get the presents from?
Yeah. Supposedly they were like shipping things to them. Why couldn't they just put them and ship them back? Like, if they can ship things to them.
Indeed. How could they?
Wait.
Deliver?
They were shipping things to them in space?
They were saying that. Of course, that's the funny thing too, as well, is that what would you be eating when you're only planning on going for? It's like Gilligan's Island, right? It's like a 3-hour tour, but they got enough supplies to last, I guess, 5 seasons.
Years,
right?
A 3-hour tour.
Right. They never told us what they did with the natives on the island. That's all I'm saying.
No, they did not. So yeah, I just thought that was funny because I'd forgotten about it when I was going through this stuff. I was like, do you remember that stupid thing that we were supposed to believe back then? And again, this is what I was saying about that. Now people are very quick to point out that's fake. I don't believe.
I feel like if they did that again, everyone within a day would be like, yeah, that's not real.
Well, of course, now we didn't even touch on this. So now that the Artemis mission, so they had astronauts come back out and saying that they're going to go to the moon and they're going to have somebody in low orbit around Earth and land on the moon at the same time. But at the earliest, they're going to land. I think the schedule is they're going to land in 2028. So sorry, guys, 2026 is not going to. We're not going to get to see some more fake moon landing footage yet.
What's crazy to me is they still talk about the problems that they have getting out of the Van Allen belt. They still talk about that problem. And they talk about how it's something that they've got. Like one of the most recent videos, they talk about how that's a problem that they still have to solve. They're still working on that. And it's like, you're literally telling us that we've never been outside of the Van Allen belt.
Have they ever really tried to explain why it was not an issue in the 60s?
No. All they do is say those kinds of comments, which are completely contradictory. Because if we've been to the moon and the moon is where they say it is, then that means we had a way of getting outside of the Van Allen belt. But it doesn't make any sense.
So let me ask you a question. So because I do know a little bit about the Van Allen belt or what it's supposed to be. Let's just for argument's sake say it's real.
Sure.
Say it's a real thing.
Okay.
It doesn't have something to do with like lots of radiation.
Yeah, it's the sun's radiation hits the Earth and it bevels around it and it just like warps around it, just like some fast ball moving through how wind bevels around it. So the radiation just goes boom and it warps around the Earth. But there's this intensified, supposed to be straight beam of radiation and heat and everything that's supposed to be hitting directly, that's being beveled around. So there's a thin layer of super intense thick radiation, which when it culminates together at the North Pole and the South Pole space, you see it as like colors because it's like frying, it's like microwaving the atmosphere. And that's what the supposed aurora borealis is actually the Van Allen belt's refraction of light because of that intense disruption.
So for all practicality, what is the reason why a spaceship, a spaceship can't go through that? So would it melt? Like in all practicality, what is it? Is it a heat thing?
What does metal do in a microwave?
It starts to spark.
Yeah, they would burn it out. They would melt them.
It would cook them. Like they'd be cooked going through it. It would just like, it would chickenify you. Like maybe you could send some metal through it, but I mean, it would spark or have some reaction or something.
So imagine the video footage or the pictures of the ships that they built for the mission that went to the moon. And we're to believe that got through the Van Allen belt.
The tinfoil.
But right. Well, actually, I changed my mind. I want to play one more video. I want to play
the Van Allen belt,
a Bully Slayer classic about this is. I want to say this is from 1972, like the last time they supposedly went to the moon and came back. Yeah, here's a Bully Slayer classic.
Now, I'm not saying the world is flat, and I'm not saying the world is round, but it's obvious that they went to the moon because we have this footage. But I've got one question to ask you. Who stayed behind to record the takeoff? Somebody had to take one for the team to get this once-in-a-lifetime camera shot. Rumor has it that the cameraman is still waiting on the moon till this day. Some other rumors say that there was actually 5 astronauts and the 5th one was black. But if you notice, the spacecraft looks like it goes up in the air and then comes back down. It's not looking good, bruv. It's not looking good.
I love that video so much.
Yeah,
they left the
it's
black
like,
astronaut on the moon. That's racist.
But so it's like they tell us about all of the design of, you know, space and the outer crust and how to get out of, you know, there's all these steps involved getting out of low Earth orbit. And, you know, the rockets launch at a trajectory because they got to get into the orbit before they can exit, before they can leave. But, like, no one has addressed why they're still talking about the problem of the Van Allen belt. There is nothing official released from NASA or anyone, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, where they explain how they can get out of the Van Allen belt. Which, again, you know, the Van Allen belt is still theoretical. It's still hypothetical. Like, we don't know for sure. They'll tell you that it's real, of course. They'll tell you that a lot of things are real. But, like, none of the things they say that have happened could have happened if what they're saying is true about the fact that we still have the Van Allen belt problem.
Right. So the interesting part about that video, of course, is besides the fact it's hilarious, is that piece of crap. And of course, we won't even need to show the lunar lander, whatever it looked like, with all the gaps and the tinfoil on it.
No, it was made out of tinfoil, guys. It literally, the astronaut himself literally said that the lunar lander that was a flimsy looking spidery thing, this is a quote, a flimsy looking spidery thing made out of a 1/10 thousandths of aluminum foil. He said that was 3 layers of Reynolds wrap, tinfoil.
Right. He was literally saying, wasn't he saying that there was a danger of them putting their
through it?
Yeah. Put your boot
he said
through
you could easily put your boot through the thing and kill all the astronauts. And that was the thing that went through the microwave of the Van Allen belts and all the vacuum of space and handled negative 400 degrees, freezing, below freezing, well below freezing, and survived all that and shot off of the rocket. And you saw those rainbowy colors, which, by the way, the camera,
it's not possible in that environment.
But the camera was supposedly
it was like remote control from Houston.
It had a delay of, what was it, like 10-second or it was like 20-second delay. Who somehow knew to time the rocket's launch and how to, with a 10-second delay, follow this rocket being taken off perfectly, and just knew exactly how to remote control it. That's
and
insane.
what we're also told is, so
imagine chasing a deer with this 10-second delay scope, and the deer's running, and you're like, okay, move the control like this, and then it's insane.
Yeah, and so what they also say, and what they don't show you in that video, what supposedly happened was they didn't fly back to Earth in that thing entirely. This thing supposedly docked with something that was in the moon's orbit, like seamlessly, and then they flew back on that. And then, right, as you said, there's this radiation belt that is very problematic, that was obviously not a problem back then. So why can't they do it? Now, here I want to shift gears real quickly, though. So I know that Brian is still a believer in outer space, kind of, aren't you, Brian?
Whatever.
Okay, let's just say, I'll ask AA around the question.
I don't have an opinion.
So what do you think? What do you think that the Van Allen belt is for, like, a biblical cosmology sense?
It's the dome.
I think it's interesting because what the Bible says is that the sun, the moon, and stars are in the firmament. I think maybe like the stars we see at night are literally embedded in it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
But it does seem like the sun and the moon are different, and they're like inside this location. So, like, theoretically, I mean, I don't believe it's possible because I don't know that they're objects like we're taught that they are, like solid objects. But let's just say it is inside the contained area that we're in. So theoretically, maybe you could land something on it. So what if there's something else that's preventing them from getting there? Like, such as, what if the Van Allen belt is actually some kind of a really intense electromagnetism? You know what I'm saying? If we're in this toroidal field, if there's some kind of a part of, like, you know, I don't know, the ether or some kind of almost like an electrical storm type area where
like the way magnets like repel each other when they're facing opposite directions.
Yeah.
Right. Like that. Like, no, that's what I think. That's absolutely what I think.
Idea. Well, I mean, I believe that, of course, if you look into the old world research like we all have, is that the idea that if they're harnessing energy from the ether, somewhere in kind of the firmament, there is this electromagnetism, there's power there. So it's got to probably be really intense in places. You know, it's not just like the power from like, you know, because there is electricity in the air all the time, but like, you know, the ionosphere, like I believe that's real. Now, what is that exactly? I mean, is that something that if you did have, you know, some kind of a rocket, when it goes into that, is that what's causing things to blow up?
Well, you've seen, or maybe you haven't seen, my brother and I actually, and you met my brother. My brother and I have plans. Like he's bought most of the materials. We still need a few things, but we plan on filming our own experiment. We haven't done it yet. But somebody did the experiment where they took a bunch of GoPros and they put them on a weather balloon and they sent it up, and like you can hear it and see it. It starts to get like kind of icy, and like it hits something. You can't see what it hits; it's invisible, but it hits something, and you hear it, and then it falls back down. I think it's some sort of non-similar to what they describe as the Van Allen belt, but not necessarily radiation, more like you're saying electromagnetic, something that you can't see. Like it's not like a crust or like a tangible wall of sorts, but it's something that we can't get through. I also believe personally, I don't think the sun and the moon are physical masses. I think that they're like plasma.
And I think there was an old video of a guy saying that he was saying before that
a scientist.
He was saying that the moon is made of plasma.
And I think that they can move through that wall, whatever that is, through that barrier. I think that they can float past that through the firmament and into the area that you're talking about, that where the stars are kept and held. I think that the sun and moon can move out of that and into our atmosphere, like within the firmament.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think there's definitely some weird things going on with the moon as far as like, you know, those flags that show it's like a crescent moon and a star in the middle of it. That's because that's like a real phenomenon where like you can see a star from
through the moon.
It's either through the moon or it's closer than the moon. But more likely you can kind of see through it. But I mean, that's kind of what you see when you just visibly observe the moon, like in the daytime when you see it. It's just like, it's weird that you can kind of see part of it, but part of it's not there.
Have you seen that commercial? I don't know if it's a Guinness commercial or who the commercial is from.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the Hennessy commercial, right?
Hennessy, yeah, dude. And it goes like
August Picard.
That's fascinating, the way that they shot that and filmed that. I'm like, dude, I feel like that's more truthful than people realize in terms of how it would really be.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to
if we could do that.
I've played that clip a few times. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you've seen it. So Auguste Piccard was supposedly the first man to get into, I believe, the stratosphere. So he had this very powerful hot air balloon, and he got up. I forget exactly how high he got. Was it 75 miles or something up? And so the commercial showing him taking this thing, and he's kind of like I want to say he's kind of in this ball, like kind of this metal sphere.
Yeah, in like a pod.
Yeah, in some kind of a pod, and he's got this balloon that takes him up. And the way that the commercial presents it, he gets to a certain point, and then he starts to like fall upwards. Like all of a sudden, he's going. He gets this view over the horizon. Of course, it's
the water.
Yeah, and then the ball shoots up, and it's like it's going to hit something, but then it shows it hits through water.
The water's above.
It's really crazy that they present that in like on a commercial, like a booze commercial of all things.
I know.
Like, why is that in there?
I know. And such a budget, dude. They spent some serious money on making that. It was phenomenally filmed.
Oh, when I show it on people say, what movie is that? Because it's definitely shot like a legit movie. And of course, if that was a movie, I'd want to see it. I think everybody would want to see it. But I want to say it's only like maybe a 2-minute commercial. And then it's weird because it shows after he hits, they show this long kind of slow motion of the pod going through the water. And then they kind of pan out and get all kind of psychedelic where they show like an eyeball, which I think that's also interesting, is the idea that if the way biblical cosmology is kind of presented, what if it was kind of like an eyeball? You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what they're showing you, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's fascinating.
Now, you said something on social media the other day that outer space is the ocean.
Right.
Explain that.
I can't do it.
You can't explain it?
I can explain it, but I don't want to explain it on camera.
Is it one of those things where it's just like, we don't know what's up there and we don't know what's down there?
Wow, where did this guy ever get such a crazy idea? Well, maybe it was the 2016 Hennessy ad that was about Auguste Piccard, the first man to ever reach the stratosphere. Check this out. Wow, plot twist. I bet you didn't see that coming. That's a weird ending. Also, what does it have to do with booze? Strange, right? Or maybe it was this. In 2013, an Italian astronaut nearly drowned to death in space.
It's hard to tell, but it feels like a lot of water.
Water in his helmet?
Yes, if there's enough water. He certainly had that risk today, and that's why we took it so seriously.
That's right. She said Luca Parmitano was in danger of drowning in his spacesuit, orbiting 260 miles above planet Earth.
That's strange, right? That's weird. Or maybe it's this. Genesis chapter 1, verse 6. Then God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." Thus God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And he called the firmament heaven. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe he just reads his Bible and believes it. It's definitely trippy. I think I got one more space video, and this is one I have not played yet.
I have to have you clear something up, though, if you don't mind, on the show this week. The last time you were on, we had a clip that got like 2 million views because you said something, and then people are actually attacking me saying, that's not really Bill Shatner. That's why I'm glad you're on video this time.
What did I say? I take it back.
I asked you when you were up in space if you could clear the air of letting people know, is the Earth round or flat?
And can you confirm that the Earth is round? Because there's been a lot of talk that the Earth is flat. Are you able to tell that from space?
No, I have not seen complete proof that the Earth is round. You can't tell me that it's round with any great proof, other than somebody said, "Oh, I went around it." Well, that's their journey. My journey is, as far as I'm concerned, the Earth is flat.
Interesting. You actually said to me that there was no evidence to you that the Earth was in fact round, and until somebody proved it to you, it was flat. That's what you said, and people went friggin' nuts over it. I didn't realize people would go that crazy.
The Earth is flat. The illusion is that it's round, but people are clinging to the roots of trees on the flat part because they've fallen through. So trees sending out roots are dangling there. They're the safety net for people holding on to the last moment. Then when they drop off, the mystery, the real mystery, is where do they go when they fall off the flat side of the Earth?
Very interesting.
He's trolling, dude. The whole thing he's trolling.
The roots of trees. Yeah, I think he's trolling for sure.
He probably is, but it's weird that they had him on before and him saying what he said. And it's like, was the trolling the part 2 when you're supposed to clarify it? When he's still saying it's not round, But obviously he's kind of doing that kind of like flat Earth society kind of joke that it's this disc.
Well, he's inside the freaking Blue Origin, so he's obviously a part of whatever lie they do to them.
Right, yeah, I know, but I guess that's the funny part is, like, again, that he said this first. The first time they interviewed him, everyone was freaking out that he said it. Like, why would he just not say? You know, I want to say that there was a clip of him when he came back, and he was definitely describing like a spiritual experience. Do you remember that, Brian? Where they were asking about it, and he was saying that space was so black, and it was like this nothingness that he saw. It was really weird. Of course, that's kind of funny too to think that like that's what people often point out in this community about when they show outer space, and you're like, where the heck are all the stars at? If you got past all the light pollution on the Earth, wouldn't the stars be really bright? But they're never seen. So he's describing something that is like infinite blackness. It's almost like the soul you have when you've accepted the deal to go to outer space with Katy Perry.
With Katy Perry.
With Katy Perry and all those other chicks that went up there. That was really bad.
With them? I don't think you went with them. You must have gone on a second trip.
Well, maybe. Well, I can't remember exactly when he went, but you know, obviously, what Katy Perry famously was like putting the flower over her eye and stuff. It's just so funny just to think like how dangerous it sounds like this is supposed to be, and these people are just kind of goofing off. They got like minutes to have this weightlessness, but it's like that doesn't seem like a lot of time. If you're going to come back at like 17,000 miles an hour.
If they're still doing it, I would like to go. And if anybody would like to sponsor me to go, I will observe and record and tell you if it's real.
Well, you know, the funny part about it is...
I'll tell you if they're trying to hypnotize them too. And I'll pretend like I'm being hypnotized, so I'll go along with the program. I know how it works.
You're going to come back different, Brian. We're not going to be able to trust you. See, that's the problem, Brian. If somebody actually took you up on that, and if you came back, regardless of what you said, we would say, Brian is a Freemason. And I would say, can't say that he's not now, because obviously that's pretty much who gets to go.
Yeah, how else would he have been able to go?
True.
Yeah, so I don't know.
But like, hey, look, I know how the game works. You guys know that I'm not. You know that I call it out, and you know that I know hypnosis. So I will go, and I'll be like, and when they put us all in the pod and they hypnotize us, I'll be like, I am here. Yes. Whoa. And I'll play along with it. And then, you know, I'll just...
You'd be like, guys, we're in a pool. No, you're in outer space.
I'll be like,
you're in outer space.
Yeah. The hypnosis will work on me. So you know that whatever I'll say, it'll be great.
Well, I believe that now, but if you go to space, I'll have to question it. I'll have to be on with the audience to say, yeah, he's sus now.
Okay, comment, send Brian to space. I'll go.
What do you think, Aaron? Do you think we're going to have to abandon Brian from the podcast if he goes to space?
I think based on the way the comments have been going on these podcasts lately, a lot of people are going to support Brian going to space.
Oh, man, that's too funny. Okay, so I believe I got one last video for us for the day. This one is interesting. It's kind of a follow-up on the Erica Kirk stuff. I made a video about this, and this kind of blew me away because we mentioned this guy's name, Cabot Phillips. But man, I could not believe the pictures from this guy's own Instagram account. Did you see this, Brian?
Oh my gosh, yes. Dude.
Let's watch this. Y'all, we really got to talk about Cabot Phillips' pizza tattoo. Have you guys seen this? Seriously, I had to double check this to see if it was actually real. But sure enough, this is on his Instagram even still today. He's got pizza tattooed on the inside of his lip. And this is from 2019. Are you seriously telling me he's never heard of Pizzagate? I think I speak for everyone when I say, what the heck, bro? Seriously? You like pizza that much? Maybe he does, but I doubt it's Domino's. Why would you do that? Guys, this guy is a senior editor at the Daily Wire. You know, Ben Shapiro's outfit? And now he's speaking for TPUSA. He's fighting like Charlie, which is really interesting considering that he dated Erica Kirk. Remember when she told Barry Weiss she was not dating before Charlie? And then it turns out, actually, she was dating this guy who likes pizza a lot. So guys, really, what's up with the tattoo? Do you guys buy that the guy really liked pizza that much?
Dude,
Aaron?
Listen, I clearly enjoy eating a good pizza. Like I am a pizza connoisseur. You couldn't pay me enough to get a pizza tattoo on me. Like I don't like the food that much. Like nobody loves the actual food, pizza, enough to get it tattooed on them. Like
that guy's not fat enough to love pizza.
Exactly.
So that's not pizza.
Exactly.
That's sus. It's like
you got to be at a certain
not,
point on the
yeah,
BMI.
like I said, it's not Domino's. It's not Domino's he's talking about. And you know, the one thing I didn't mention in the video is that the way the tattoo is actually written, where it's like it's P,
like an arrow.
It's a P, then an arrow is the I
Yeah.
that's going into his mouth.
Yeah,
that makes it
Weird.
worse. That
So
makes
disturbing.
that makes it much worse. Yeah, it's just like that. You know, and I know the mainstream is going to say Pizzagate was debunked. It was a wild conspiracy. Obviously, that's what I always call everybody who I believe is, you know, in those types of people. I call them pizza files because of that. So he posted that on his Instagram in 2019. So everybody already knew about this conspiracy, whether true or not true. And that's the thing. It's like, I don't care what kind of food you like. It's weird to get a tattoo because you like a food so much, you know,
Bro,
and especially
even
it's really weird to get it on the inside of your lip, and just the way the picture is presented, it looks
It's
super
sexual.
creepy.
It's suggestive.
Yes.
Just his post.
Yes.
It's
agreed.
very obvious.
If it's not what we think it is, it's like, it's the funny part about it is like, this guy looks, for one, he kind of looks gay. I don't even know that if he's really a straight guy. He kind of looks gay.
He's
Dude,
definitely
you and your gay comments crack me up.
He does.
That Will Byers one, you're like,
It would
he
be
was
less
already kinda
surprising
gay.
that if he came out than Will Byers did in Stranger Things, which was very obvious.
Dude, the thing is, all people.
But I'm saying,
politicians,
you know, I'm
they're
just
all
saying like
gay.
that.
All the politicians
No,
are
that's-
secretly gay because
very true.
they're attracted to power, and there's a homosexual agenda sort of that it makes you, because he was probably molested as a child. His power as a man was taken from him, and therefore he seeks power. That's why all politicians are secretly gay. All of them.
Kudos, Brian, for saying probably.
Yeah,
Kudos.
right. You know what?
Okay, all right.
You know what's really
changing
sad
right
is
before our eyes.
if you looked at his location in the picture, it was Lynchburg, Virginia, and I'm pretty sure he went to Liberty University, and that's where I went. So that's really So we got alums
That's
like
gay,
Cabot
JT.
Phillips and Michael Tate, and JT. How about that? Yeah. But no. So what I was saying is that, for one, he looks very clean cut guy. He probably doesn't have any other tattoos. It's weird to get one, the first one you get, on the inside of your lip. That's got to hurt.
No,
Really.
listen, I've got tattoos, and I'm telling you right now, like, it's not that they're, I don't know, like it's once they start the process, like you kind of get used to it, it just feels like they're literally dragging a razor blade through your skin. There's different spots that hurt more. I'm telling you right now, that tattoo would hurt more than any other place on the outside of your skin. Like that would hurt so freaking bad.
Yes, absolutely. No, 100%. That would be a horrible place to get one.
Because aren't like most of your nerve endings, aren't they like they're in your feet, your hands, and then your mouth? Isn't that?
You know
where
what I
they all
find
are? I don't know,
interesting?
I'm not a
Of
scientist.
course, this is a completely different aside, but isn't it kind of funny how that you can pick something up with your hand and it's burning your fingers, and you can put it in your mouth real quick and eat it? You know, of course, sometimes you burn the roof of your mouth.
Well, it's because your mouth heals fast too,
But your mouth can handle more heat than your hands can.
and there's water in it. There's wet. There's spit.
I guess that's true. But yeah.
Yeah.
The point being is,
It's a whole like ecosystem in there.
that if this guy's not even aware enough to know that if you post something like that, you're going to get a lot of people raise an eyebrow like, what do you mean pizza? Like us. So like, why
Did
would
you
you
see
want
the
me?
amount of
Of course,
shares on
of
that
course
video?
Of course, you're thinking about it like that. If you're, if you're a Christian, of course, he went to Liberty University. I'm sure he probably claims he is one. If you're a Christian, you kind of want to avoid the appearance of evil. It's also kind of even, let's just see if even it's not, and my buddy Vitaly talks about kind of all these deadly sins of like the sin of like gluttony. And it's like promoting that you like this food so much. It's idolatrous and it's weird. Say that. So so even if it's not what we think it is, which is the worst, it's still weird and not cool. And yeah, it does look very sexually suggestive at the very least. I want to say that there was a comment on that thread that said something about like him being a thirst trap or something like that. And he said his comment was, "I try to stay well hydrated." That's in that same comment section of that picture. And and the crazier part is, like, as I said, and Brian said you looked it up, that picture is still there.
Yeah, he knows what people think. He knows the association. It feels like it's up there as an ode, or like it was ritualistic, like he was required to do it, like he had to do it, like it was something that was a price that he had to pay, basically.
He's attracted to it, and like this is why he's gay too, by the way, side note, or probably gay, we'll say. And he's probably gay because a lot of gay people aren't attracted to men as much as they're attracted to secrecy. He tattooed the inside of his lip. That's a form of secrecy. So like it's very obvious that he's probably secretly gay. There's a lot of secrets going on with that guy who tattoos
Right,
the
because he
inside
can
of your lip.
he can selectively show that to whoever he wants and keep it secret.
Yep, he has a little secret, and that's what a lot of gay people are attracted to, the idea that it's secret and no one knows about it, and it's like bad, and that's what they're attracted to. And I've dealt with this so much. Like he's very, very obviously secretly gay, likely molested, bad stuff.
And if he dated Erica before and he's back in the fold now.
Yeah, it's like a situation where neither of these people are being legitimate people. So maybe this is an arrangement of convenience or power or whatever he was going to do. But no, I agree with Brian about that. It's like, it's weird because you tattoo yourself in a place like that no one's going to see, but then you also show everybody that. So like if you wanted to show everybody that, why wouldn't you get it tattooed on your shoulder or something, your forearm?
You want
like a normal tattoo spot.
It's definitely a gay thing for sure, and it's secret gay thing. So like he may have a front relationship with a woman, and whatever you want to call him, bisexual, sure, but he's secretly doing something to little boys behind the scenes. Probably that's what that tells me. Like straight up, just the fact of what it is, where it is, and the behavior of how he posted it. Everything screams secret behavior, evil intent.
And just the energy he's given in the picture too.
No, it's like I said, it's like
it's
like a snarl look. It's like I mean, I get the vibes of like when you see Pan or you see Krampus with his tongue sticking out. It's like, ooh, no, I don't want to think about that. That's weird.
Yeah, it makes me feel very uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable. And the one part that did not make the cutting room floor when I recorded that video, because I was worried I was going to go on social media, I was going to get the video taken down, is I was saying when you make the secondary connection between him and Erica Kirk, with Erica Kirk in her organization, Romanian Angels, because of course this has supposedly been debunked. So this is all alleged, but Romanian Angels was some kind of an organization that was dealing with orphans in Romania. And supposedly they were not allowed to do that anymore because of connections with child trafficking.
Yep.
So then if you think about it, she's dating this guy with this pizza tattoo on his inside of his lip. Yeah. And they're associated probably around the same time when were they dating when this was happening? You know, there's nothing new under the sun. That's what I said. I remember was it in the movie The 300? When Leonidas is talking about all the soldiers that are coming, and he's talking about the Greeks, or he's talking about the people from Athens, those boy lovers. Remember, he calls them out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's associated with a lot of those Greek philosophers, is that they were weird sexual deviants. And what did Socrates himself supposedly admitted that he had a demon, Brian? Wasn't he saying it? A daemon.
A daemon tells him things and warns him.
That's why he was so wise.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, that the term genius likely comes from jinn or genie.
Yep.
Genius.
Yep, genius. It means the one that has the jinn giving them supernatural knowledge and understanding. That's where we get the term genius.
So how did they get those? How did they get that genius? Could be from the pizza.
And we were all over the place today. We
were, but it was
went all the way up
episode.
Into the stratosphere and all the way back down.
There'll be a lot of parts that are probably not for YouTube on this version. Probably we talked about the pizza stuff got a little bit out there. But if you guys do want to watch these episodes early and uncensored, please support this podcast over on Patreon. I want to especially to say thank you. This is the end of the year. I really appreciate, or now by the time you guys see this, it'll be the beginning of the year. But I really appreciate all you patrons, all you members on YouTube. You guys are the best. I really appreciate all your support and your love. And you guys are awesome. I want to say the last podcast we dropped on YouTube was probably the most watched one I've ever had. So you guys are amazing, and I could not do this without you. And obviously, I could not do this without my Lord Jesus Christ, the Most High God. And I'm super excited about this next year and where things are going to go from here. But I appreciate you guys coming along for the ride. And again, if you guys want to support this podcast in other ways, you can check out Modern Roots Life, support your health. You know, I'm probably going to be, sadly, in that New Year's resolution crew where I'm going to try to eat I'm going to eat cleaner, but obviously I'm going to stick with my Modern Roots Life. And we're going to try to get healthy spiritually, physically, mentally this year. So anyways, guys, I love you guys dearly. God bless you, and see you next time.